Welcome. These will be my thoughts on Arrow Season 2, Episode 9, 3 Ghosts. The episode is rated TV-14, so this video there will be spoilers for the episode and all the ones leading up to it. And another episode I absolutely loved. I'm going to start with the deleted scenes on the Blu-ray. So there is one where Laurel goes to talk to Blood, and he was doing this, I mean, they use the term staged photo op, and basically he's saying, that it's important to take care of the kids in Starling City as well as in other places. And it was interesting, like as far as I can tell, that is why he refers to people as his brothers and sisters, the ones he works with, the ones he gives superpowers to and such. Because he says that he lost his parents when he was 6, and then he got a bunch of new brothers and sisters at the foster care. And let's see. There was also one where Thea tells Sin that she can stay for Christmas. She was about to leave to go stand in line at one of the shelters. And there's even a crack about, like, Sin is like, are you adopting me? And Thea's like, you don't want to be adopted by this family, but you shouldn't spend Christmas alone. And Roy looks at the file that Laurel brought and walks off without telling the other two. And that one definitely leads into, like, the next time we see him is in the episode when he is breaking in to find, that's when he sees that the miracle cure was administered to Max. Although we know that that's what that means. He doesn't yet, at least. I think those might be it for the deleted scenes, but both good. Probably just cut for time, and I think that does pretty well cover. Yeah, I'm gonna start with, or move on to, the flashbacks. So yeah, Ivo showing just how incredibly cruel he can be, just to be the absolute worst. Forces Oliver to choose which of them, yeah. And I thought that worked really well, that it cuts away from it, right after he says 30 seconds to choose, and then when it cuts back, the time is running out. And that also worked really well, that because, when we see her be hallucinated, we deduce, oh, she died on the island. And yeah, that means we and we know that Sarah survived, so yeah, it seems like Shadow was the one who died. And yeah, just the way that they show how guilty Oliver's feeling, that, we find it, it's revealed. It's psychological, not pharmacological. That's why he's hallucinating. So yeah, it weighs heavy on him. And then we have the part where Slade wakes up and runs out. He uses a superpower to take out some of them, breaks a gun in half like it's a toothpick, and the yeah, he says, whoever did this will suffer. And so we can deduce that he does blame Oliver for that. So maybe he realized, maybe he straight up finds out that Ivo did force Oliver to choose. And certainly, he has much more of a relationship towards Sarah. Shadow than Sarah is what I meant to say. And yeah, full disclosure, did not get 1 minute of sleep last night. Not 100% sure what's going on. Think it might be stress. Trying to deal with it. But hopefully this video won't be complete gibberish. Anyway, yes, I think that does cover yeah, I appreciated Sarah covering for Oliver, claiming that Ivo just shot without, any kind of warning. And yeah, so the present day stuff. Yeah, I feel for Barry. Like, he's waking up realizing he was knocked out, realizing that, Oliver Queen is Arrow. And then he's being told to fix him. And he points out, I usually do this to dead people. Like, this is not, And yeah, the thing about, well, there's 4 things it could be, and he checks. Okay, 3, 2, and let's see yeah, the thing about how it was the let's see, it's made his blood thicker, which yeah, that is something, if someone has it's too thin blood, they might need a drug like that. So very nicely done on that. And yeah, I was thinking that, oh, it's whatever was in there caused the hallucinations, but that's yeah, I thought that worked well. And they also played it just right. There wasn't so much of it that it got to be distracting. I guess this is a decent time to say, completely random that I do this so close to, Christmas Eve. I see here the episode originally aired December 11th, so not quite Christmas. So I guess it's possible one of the next ones will be even Christmasier than A Christmas Carol. And I think that does... Right. Yeah, so Oliver, right, and yeah, rat poison, which, like, Dig is like, are we sure about this? And Felicity is like, I trust him. And then when Oliver comes to, he grabs him by the throat. Yeah, that's, what's the opposite of bedside manner? Because technically he is the patient attacking the doctor. And, yeah, I really like that, Felicity explains, and then she says, this is the part where you thank the person who just saved your life for saving your life. And, Oliver, yeah, he's, I understand why he's not really thinking this through, because he did just, like, come very close to dying, and then was poisoned. So it's perfectly understandable, and yeah, sometimes he definitely does need Felicity and or Dig to, set him straight on something, and this time also Barry. I really, really loved his line. You don't have to thank me, but you should thank her instead of being a jerk. And Oliver just like stares at him and he's like, Mr. Queen. That was, yeah. He had every reason to not, like he is technically scared of Oliver and Arrow, but yeah, it was the right thing. Like this, it really is, yeah. Um, but I think, yeah, I really love how for the rest of it, Barry is absolutely geeking out over, it was the Force, just like I said, and it points out about the mask and does end up giving the mask, and I did quite also like Oliver being like, yeah, okay, smart guy. Well, if you can think of a way, oh, I already thought of one. That was a rhetorical question. Do they not teach you that at Lab Tech College? And let's see, I guess that does bring us to the, so yeah, when he goes, so yeah, his mom contacts, and he, yeah, the locked herself in her room and won't come out. And I will say that my very first thought was like, did Malcolm get to her, and or and yeah, obviously as soon as I did it, like Oliver knocks, and then the yeah, it's like, is Mom with you? No. And then the door opens immediately. It's like that was the one thing. And yeah, Oliver steps in, and I will admit, I really should have seen coming what he saw in there, and so should he. Where'd you think he was gonna go exactly? I'm asking myself that as well. But yeah, and the and yeah, point about well, if you show up with an arrow in you, you might as well show up with a bullet in you. And the I did quite like Oliver try. He's like, this is kind of the opposite of what I thought would happen. Like this was supposed to deter him, not make him even more determined. And so he tries, like, well, I don't know. I mean, maybe this arrow guy had a reason for doing this. Maybe also just because, like, his sister just insulted him, although she doesn't realize that. She thinks she's talking about someone else entirely, but yeah. And yeah, the thing about the removing the projectile, which, yeah, we have the classic. If you watch enough of this stuff in a short amount of time, do not make a drinking game out of, because you will, like, what's it called again? Alcoholic shock or something. I forget what it's called, but if you drink too much within too short of a time, yeah. American movies and shows do love someone's gonna take a sip of a drink, and then some, and then yeah, some of the liquor is poured on the wound before something more is done, and they like wince in pain or something. Just, yeah, it's a classic for a reason. And yeah, Oliver helps, which really does go to show, like, he is becoming less hostile towards Roy. there's certain episodes of the first season where I'm pretty sure he would have pulled the arrow the other way, possibly twisted it when the arrowhead was back inside the leg. And let's see, I think that pretty much gets the yeah, I thought it worked the thing about asking Laurel to look into, and that was also a nice little, so Thea shows up to her office, and we see the card saying Alderman, so that's blood. And Thea asks, do you have a secret admirer? And Laurel's not, she doesn't want to go into it, so she just says, oh, they're from her father. And then she's told, oh, hey, there's this blood drive, maybe you could look into it. And then she's standing there holding the card and looking at the flowers afterwards, like, is she going to pry? Is she gonna risk, harming her relationship with him? And we do later see, she looked at it without talking to Blood, and then afterwards did also ask him. And yeah, he obviously had that cover story ready. And I guess actually maybe there was a thing about maybe they were testing for a specific blood type, and everybody else, and maybe you need both that blood type and a really strong system in order to possibly. And I think that does bring us to, so yeah, Ollie sees Shadow, and twice actually. Join me, stop fighting. And yeah, I thought they did a really solid job the way that, yeah, these are three different, like, things he is thinking, Is he just gonna give up? Is he not a hero at all? Or did he do what he could for Tommy and others, and if he keeps fighting, he'll save more? It's, yeah, very nicely done. So I don't know if we are supposed to read them as quite equivalent to the three that Ebenezer sees, or four, if you want to be a corrections jackal about it. But the, I mean, let's see. I guess I can briefly go over. So Shadow, I guess, would be Ghost of Christmas Past. She has been dead for, I guess that makes it 4 years between the flashback where she dies and him escaping the island. And, reminding him of who he was, the way that he despaired right after she died. And I mean, it's somewhat works with Slade at Ghost of Christmas Present, because he is there in the present as well. And the there's the thing about how bad things are. Isn't that how it? Oh wow, it's been so long since I watched any of the Christmas Carol versions. No, yeah, because Present is the with the two two really, really starving, I mean, they look like people, but they are representations of, so that works. Not entirely sure. I think, I'm not certain if they are meant to be read as that, but certainly with Tommy, I guess maybe the fact that maybe Oliver will have to deal with Malcolm again in the future. Maybe that's what it is. And certainly that is, that's when he really gets a kick in the ass and, changes something important. Yeah, I think that right. I like when Felicity is like, oh, so there was another girl on the island. How many women did you maroon with? Sure, it wasn't Fantasy Island. And right, I also really appreciated. I guess that's what it took. Finally, he opens up about, he tells them about Shadow and Slade. And let's see. Yeah, right. I liked when the thing about, um, when he says, what if Barry goes to the cops? And, Felicity says he won't. Barry says, I won't. And then, there's the thing about, maybe I'll put an arrow in him. He's kidding. That was really good. And yeah, I think that does. I'm honestly not certain about the rat poison, if that would work under those circumstances, but I wouldn't rule it out. Like, there are a lot of things that, in a small amount, it can help, at least under certain circumstances, but in a higher dose, it will kill. So I think that does bring us to, yeah, so the part where they go for recon, and yeah, I do really appreciate that Dig does go with, or actually, yeah, he's the one going on the recon. And let's see, you have the thing about, yeah, I don't know, I chuckled at the joke about, the the glove box thing, yeah. And right, that was the deleted scene I forgot to mention before. After Dig goes through the front door, he goes up and asks, and has to pay money for information, and says, I don't care about spending this money because there's a rich guy out there in my car and he's going to reimburse me. But that's how he knew what room. And so he goes into the room, and then he says, yeah, they start saying the thing about Solomon Grundy, which I will say I had forgotten that Cyrus Gold was the original name of Solomon Grundy. So that is very cool. I was not sure if we were going to get Solomon Grundy. Yeah, but that's really, really cool. I have to admit, yeah, I guess, is it a spoiler? Say, I guess just in case, I'll just say I've encountered that character elsewhere and was quite fond of, yeah. Okay, I feel like it's not a spoiler. Wait, no, just in case. Yeah, never mind. We're gonna move on. But yeah, and he starts to say it, and then Solomon walks up behind and attacks. That was really cool, and he does manage to get to safety. And I think that does, yeah. When Oliver comes back from the oh, right. So yeah, Oliver talks to Lance and tells him, I can't do this on my own. I need your help with this. And yeah, gives him the information, including warnings, and let's see, then he goes home, and yeah, he's just intending to do the tennis bowl training. And this is again where it's such a great, because like we've seen how capable he is, we've seen it with tennis balls, we've seen it with other stuff. Like, he's just amazing. He's surgical with this. And now that he's hallucinating, he pictures Slade catching the arrow and then taunting him and attacking him. And that really is so devastating. This thing of like, the island didn't make you strong. It revealed how weak you are. Like, that stings. That is a very, very, yeah. And it's one of those things, it's really, really cool seeing Slade and Oliver fight. Before this, it had, a lot of that had been training. There was a little bit before he found out that Oliver was sent. Yeah, I think that does pretty well cover. So yeah, we have the thing with they mentioned Jeannie, who's being dreamt of, and yeah, you have the thing about, you have to call my wife and tell her why I won't be there for the shopping. And it's such a great, because like immediately we're like, poor her, she probably, it happens entirely too often for her liking that she can't enjoy one of these, positive experiences with him. And then later, when he's in the hospital bed, he's like, I have to call Jeannie. Just, yeah, really, really well done. Because when he said, you're going to have to tell her, I wasn't thinking that he would be dead. Yeah. And we again see that, I did appreciate that at first he's like, this doesn't make any sense. Where are you getting this intel? And he's like, really? He already took your badge and gun. You want him to do that again? Like the Daily, I think they call him, overhears and it's like, maybe you'd like another one to join you if you. And again, as I talked about in my video on the episode before this one, sometimes cops are able to, hide something. Sometimes they don't even hide it, but get away with something they really shouldn't do, because they're cops. So yeah, we're again seeing that here. And also just such a cool, tense, scene during the actual, so they get in there and like a saw blade is thrown and people are thrown around the room and just like, yeah, it was kind of reminding me of like Jason Voorhees or something, especially the fact that we don't see immediately, we just see stuff, we see people attack before we see him. And yeah, I thought they did the, Solomon getting the guy to shoot himself was also really, they spent just long enough on it that we're sitting there saying, no, you're not. Because they just mentioned Jeannie, and not so long that it feels like it's gratuitous. And I think that does pretty well cover. Yeah, like that, Felicity asks Barry to Big Belly Burger, where they can, watch the countdown or something like that. That was a good way to, yeah. And yeah, she says she'll be lighting her menorah. That's her plan for Christmas. And I think that does pretty well cover the... There's definitely at least one more thing that I really wanted to make sure to say. Let's see. There's the... Okay, so there's obviously the very end where we see Slade in the present day. He looks phenomenal in a suit. And is that all of it? Let's see. I feel like there's at least one more thing that I really wanted to talk about. Okay, well, I definitely do want to make sure to say, so yes, wasn't sure exactly how soon they were going to get to it, but yeah, at the end, near the end of this episode at least, we see Barry holding chemical spill on him while he's holding the metal, and like lightning strikes. There's that thing about like how unlucky you can be, but yeah, that was indeed what I was referencing. As several times in the episode before this one, we had like thunderbolt and lightning, very, very frightening me outside, and he moved around some chemicals and pointed out these are really dangerous, and yeah, so that is a good way to have the yeah, I will say I was surprised when he said, "Oh, I didn't get in line soon enough, so I will have to watch the reactor from, yeah, on the monitor instead." I thought that he would be really close to it instead, but that's a very nice little misdirect. Yeah, I love the little bit of lightning we see run across his face after he lands after that. Yeah, I think, right, and the phone call with the, I was late, as usual. I just wanted you to know, if you ever wanted to date, I wouldn't be late for that. So adorable. Just, yeah. And I think that does pretty well. So there's obviously at least a little bit more about Slade in the present day. Yeah, that might actually be... Yeah, it was great when so some more stuff happens to Salman Grundy, and then we get the last couple of lines, died on a Saturday, buried on a Sunday. And I think that might... Right, that was also yeah, really did love seeing Tommy again. And at the end of the day, like, Tommy had issues with the vigilantism, but when Oliver did the right thing, Tommy did tend to appreciate... Well, I mean, things that are purely heroic, things that are not, violent, but save people. So yeah, so that felt like that felt right, and yeah, nice to see the actor again. Right, and the part where that was another, yeah, when Slade, the hallucination says, you said this was about your father, but it's about you. And I think that does bring us to... Right. And we had the, really effective ticking clock with, 48 hours. That's all the time we need. And at one point it cuts back and there's not very much time left. And really, really nicely done. And Slade says, you can have more of the blood so you can continue working on it, and from now on you won't mess with the arrow. You'll get the quiver. And that is a very effective. So it is possible that the season is going to end with something related to, I guess, should I still be calling it Crucible? I mean, Miracle is the drug. Crucible is what I would say when I'm referring to blood, having it given to people in Starling City. So, yeah. I think that does pretty much cover the... also seeing Lance realize, he brings up the other cop, and from Laurel's face, he can tell he's dead. And that was also like, holy crap. They're really pushing Laurel. I have a very bad feeling. At least he didn't die, but if he does, or if she finds out Sarah is still alive, and I mean, might Sarah now visit him in hospital, and that could increase the risk that someone recognizes her. So, that was also great when Arrow, the first thing Lance asks is if it's about Sarah. I think that might bring us... what was the other thing? There was at least one more thing. And the thing that there was maybe just with the fact that Oliver now did manage to defeat Solomon. I don't know if it's permanent, but for this episode he managed to defeat him, which he wasn't able to in the episode before this one. And he because it's one of those things, like, he needed, it's like with one of those Rocky movies, the original trainer. I forget his name right now, but sometimes you just need a penguin talk. I mean, a pep talk. And it was really, really chilling when Slade is laying out. It's the thing about, it's not that he still says friend, but it's not that he wants to spare Oliver. It's that it's too little. And he also said, I think it was in the Slade... Now I forgot how I said it. Hallucination Slade, that where he said, they say a coward dies 1,000 deaths. That's still not enough punishment for you. And knowing that he represents part of Oliver's subconscious, I think that does cover... Let's see. But he says, he mentions what he's going to do to the different people. you know, and we briefly see footage of them. Yeah, I guess the right. I liked Barry saying, you know, I get if you like Oliver, and the thing about you never meet your heroes, and I think that what's that? Yeah, there's definitely at least one more thing that I really wanted to make sure to say. Let's see. Um, the let's see. Oh, right, and the yeah. So you know, Slade said that women can be a distraction, so you shouldn't care about. I am a little worried. Like we've seen how he is when he's not distracted, and now we're gonna see how. Well, I guess we got a hint of how bad he is when he is distracted in his own parlance. Yeah, I think I think that pretty much gets us. Yeah, I can hardly wait to see more of. And yeah, been trying not to spill it for those who are watching these videos and the show, and you know, not knowing for sure about future stuff. You know, I read a number of the comics, and Slade was one of the standout characters in DC for me, and the way we saw him at the very end in this episode, that's what I know of. You know, that's what comes to mind when I think of Slade in the comics. So yeah, that's I'm really glad that they worked their way to here. It hits so much harder, you know, like this, that it actually is they were friends. And yeah, but yeah, you know, he talks about like corrupting and various, just yeah. And yeah, he says, you know, when all of that is done and Starling City is ashes, then he has my permission to die.